All right, let's continue then on our conversation and bring in National Department of Basic Education spokesperson Elijah Mhlanga as we look at plans to deal with disruptive rains reported in parts of the country amid matric final examinations. Elijah, thank you so much for your time and good afternoon to you. I mean, earlier this year, we saw, of course, in the Western Cape how close to 30 schools were damaged, resulting in thousands of learners not being able to go to school. But we find ourselves back here, but across the country and at a very crucial time, of course, in terms of the matric paper. Just talk to us from a national perspective, how much damage has been caused here today by the weather from the various provinces that you're engaging with?
Good afternoon, Unati. Well, it's not much in other provinces. It's just the Eastern Cape where we are seeing damage having taken place to the extent that it affected the running of the examinations as well. In other provinces, it's been business as usual yesterday and today as well. The good part is that the subjects that were taken today are not offered by a lot of learners across the country, so a large number of them were not writing. So the disruptions are only limited for now to the Eastern Cape. We are also watching KwaZulu-Natal. We held a meeting yesterday with the province, and they reported that for day one, all learners were able to reach their centers, and all the officials who deliver and collect question papers were also able to do their work without any disturbance. So we are grateful that day one went without a major glitch, but we continue to monitor the situation as the weather service has issued more warnings, especially for the rains in many parts of the country.
I suppose it is good news then, Elijah, considering that we've seen from the report by our reporter in KwaZulu-Natal, some parts of that province have been damaged. It's good news that it's only isolated for now, in the Eastern Cape. So we know that 319 learners have been affected by, exams today in the Eastern Cape. Just talk to us about, what then is the process to follow where learners are excluded from writing a paper that is written nationally. We're talking here about 319. We spoke, of course, to the Eastern Cape provincial spokesperson, and he's given us an idea that the paper will be written in November. From a national perspective, what then needs to happen at provincial level?
Well, Unati, Ntima was correct. If we were to look at our timetable, which we already published, the two subjects that were being written today are actually catered for on the 28th of November for a rewrite. It's as if we knew that there was going to be such a need, but it all comes from experience, because these are practical subjects that require electricity, they require generators, they require reliable power supply. So historically, they've always encountered challenges, but we did not anticipate that we would encounter a challenge like this one today. So fortunately, we always have a backup paper for CAT and IT, which means the learners now need to just continue with their studies for those particular papers, which are going to be redone on the 28th of November. So they will not be left behind. They will be equally resulted like everybody else who was able to write the subjects today in other parts of the country where there was no negative impact resulting from the weather.
And just in terms of contingency plans, just speak to us about that, because, we've heard early on that the Department of Transport, of course, has been roped in, as well as the SAPS in some instances, particularly where transportation is needed. We also know that some churches, as well as community halls, have also been utilized in this event. But I know that you, of course, said that, this was outside of your control because it is weather related. But outside of that, the contingency plans that you have, going into these examinations.
Unati, we have partnerships with the different organs of state that would be required to help us in the case of a disaster like this one. We have a long-standing partnership with the South African National Defence Force, who have vehicles that can manage a terrain such as the one that is emanating in the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal as well. They've always been on hand to assist us. They are on standby for that call. SAPS as well They're always there. They've always assisted with the helicopters as well. We also have the weather service itself, who give us warnings in advance. And we also have the disaster management teams in the provinces who are also working to see how we can be assisted. Churches, yes, churches came on board, particularly through the COVID period when we needed social distancing. We used churches to host exams for grade 12 when this was needed. So that partnership is continuing. So we continue to benefit from all the support that we are getting. And we are grateful that South Africans realize the importance of this particular examination and that their resources are rerouted to assisting us as a sector to ensure that the exam is run even under difficult conditions, and we're able to overcome that which we need to deal with for the learners to be able to complete their examination.
And let's do a quick, check-up in terms of just how everyone else is doing, because we know, of course, yesterday was the first day of these examinations, with the minister declaring them, of course, all systems are set and ready, with just close to 900,000, pupils writing. So how are we on day 2, outside, of course, of those regions that have been impacted by weather?
Well, day 1 went well yesterday. There was just a small protest in the Northern Cape, which almost worried us because the taxi association was blockading some roads, but we were able to negotiate our way through and learners were able to write. And the colleagues that normally would collect and drop off question papers were able to do their work. So we're happy that went ahead without any major disturbance. There was some protest in a part of Limpopo. That too, we were able to manage it with the assistance of the SAPS, and we were able to get the business of the day going. And there were some learners as well, some candidates, I think in Gauteng and parts of Mpumalanga as well, who had to write in hospital because they fell ill. But we're always anticipating circumstances like this one. The officials in the provinces were able to put in place measures to assist those candidates and made sure that they continue to write in hospital, even under emergency conditions. So we have been able to do that. And apart from that, there were no major incidents. So we are grateful that out of the large number of people who turned up to write the exam yesterday, we were able to go through it without any worrying incidents, really. So we hope things will remain the same. Of course, we are watching Eastern Cape and KZN, but as for the rest of the country, we are satisfied with the progress of day 1. Day 2 as well went very well. We have not received any concerning reports, so we are grateful that so far so good.
Yeah, and may it last. Thank you so much, Elijah, for your time and, of course, your update this afternoon. That is the National Department of Basic Education spokesperson, Elijah Mhlanga, there for us.